I'll toss the apple. Seeing this apple makes me want to make an apple pie. Let's see what we need. Looks like we need flour, salt, shortening, and water. Instead of shortening, I know this is an old cookbook, but before they started using shortening, they used leaf lard, and that's what we're going to use. But I don't have any at the moment. Since we don't have any leaf lard, we need to go get some. And you're not going to find it at a meat market or any grocery store. What the grocery stores do carry is back fat lard. That's good for frying things like tortillas or chicken. We need the leaf lard. It's better for the pie crust or any kind of a pastry. Anything you want flaky and light. And we found a place in Ithaca, New York. This place is called the Piggery, and they butcher their own pigs, so they do have plenty of it. Let's take a road trip.
My name is Heather, and I'm one of the owners and farmers and butchers here at the Piggery in Ithaca, New York. We're in our retail store where we primarily focus on carrying only locally raised, pasture-raised, non-GMO fed animals. And I'm really proud to say that we have a whole variety of different things right here in Ithaca, New York.
Hi Heather, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming to our store today.
One thing we're wondering is why is bacon so good? Why is it so addictive?
Oh no, do I have to answer that honestly? Okay, don't tell anybody, I don't really like bacon personally that much, but I recognize my job as a farmer and a butcher is to make products for customers. So I think it goes back to that term umami, where it's like you're hitting a couple different flavor profiles on your mouth which come together so well. It's like the smoky and the richness and the fats all come together in that really nice way. Salt, a little bit of organic cane sugar, and we only do nitrate-free cures, so we use celery powder, and then we have a really slow cooked applewood smoker in the back.
So we basically drove 2 hours to the Piggery because we want to get some leaf lard so she can make pie crust.
Awesome.
What is it about leaf lard that's so much better than regular?
That is pretty awesome.
Oh, thank you. We try. This is where it all started 10 years ago. We figured out how to not only be farmers, but to also cut meat in the basement of our house. We started going to the farmer's market.
In your basement.
Yeah, that's how we started the business. We didn't know what we were doing, and we wanted to bring fresh meat to the farmer's market, so we were able to get a state license to cut meat and transport there, and now it's growing. I always think of the Piggery as a community-grown project, so our customers kept asking us to do more things, and we responded. So we would start bringing pork chops and charcuterie and different things that we would make, and now
That is wonderful.
we've grown it from a basement of our house project and the farmers markets. We want to have fresh, local, pasture-raised meats 7 days a week. And luckily, I have a great team who helps because it's a big project. So we have everything from just fresh, basic cuts, organ meats that are hard to find. There's a lot of people looking for grass-fed organ meats. I think so too. The burgers that Andy just made, I'm a fan too. And we'll do different things like seasoned meats and bulgokis and sausages, but your basics. We have ground beef, which is wonderful to work with. We've got braising cuts like shanks, steaks. If it ever warms up, they'll be really popular. But this is our raw meat case. Welcome, guys. Sorry, we'll get out of your way. Okay, so this is the case up here, and I wanted to show you guys what happens in the back. So this is just one area of our production kitchen. This is one of my favorite pieces of equipment that we have, which is our kettle. And if you look inside of it right now, I'm making turkey bone broth. Yeah, so the bone broth trend has definitely taken off the last few years, but we've been making stocks for a decade. So all those things that you asked about, the bacons, how do they get made? You ready for a little smoke?
Oh yeah.
This is our smoker. This is how we make hot dogs and emulsified products like bologna. It quickly chops everything with a gigantic buffalo chopper. And it just really whips everything up. And then we take that product and it goes over here to our stuffer. This is how we stuff fresh sausages, hot dogs, deli meats, pâtés, rillettes. And it has a horn that comes in and you get the product off the other side of it. This is our warehouse. So after we make all those products that you saw, you'll see that we box them and have them up over here. We also have our beef hanging, kind of as part of our dry aging program. It was really nice to meet you, and I hope you have a fun trip.
It was wonderful to meet you, and thank
you.
you so much for the interview and for the whole tour. It was
Awesome.
fantastic.
I'm glad you liked it. Good luck with your pie crust. Let me know how it turns
Oh,
out.
yeah. Wasn't that a lot of fun at the Piggery? I learned a lot. This is the 10 pounds of leaf fat or kidney fat that we picked up. It's a little too soft to dice up into little fine pieces so that we can render it into leaf lard. So what we're going to do is we're going to freeze it. Now that the leaf lard is frozen, let's take it out and cut it up. Alrighty, little tiny pieces. That'll be perfect. We're going to put it right over here in our pot. And we're just going to keep doing that with all of this. Now this stuff starts to melt and soften up a little bit, so we don't want to leave it out. So we're going to just take a few pieces out and we're going to put the rest back in the freezer, and we'll just keep pulling it out as we need it. We're going to fill up our pot to probably about right here. It's going to be pretty full because it's eventually going to start melting down. We've chopped enough for one pot. You want them as small as you can get them or as thin as you can get them, because the goal is to melt it, not to cook it. So we're going to melt it slowly, turning it on low, and we're going to leave it on low. This is going to take all day. Come along and stir it every so often because it's going to melt. You want to mix it up, and be sure and put a lid on it. It helps hold in the heat and helps it melt. We'll see you in a little while. See all that melting? When you come over here, you can see it even closer. But it is melting, so it's, see all that liquid in there? That's great. All right, it's been a couple hours. Let's see what it looks like and how it's doing. It's looking good. Melting very well, nice and clear. Wonderful. So while that's going, keep it on low and slow. I need to get my jars ready. I'm going to sterilize them in the dishwasher. Okay, so let's go ahead and strain some of the lard out. I'm going to put it in a larger jar first so that I can strain it easier, and then we'll pour it into smaller jars. And the reason for the smaller jars is my choice, because I want to put several of them in the freezer, and then there's going to be a few that I'm going to put in the fridge. It is an animal byproduct, so we do want to make sure it doesn't spoil on us. Oops. Okay, we have enough in the large jar for the small jar. So let's pour it in there. There we go. And we'll set these to a side and let them cool off and harden up. All right, we have a finished product. Let's take a look at them. This one is perfect. It's a beautiful white. It was low and slow, and usually get a little bit of bubbles when you're cooking it at that point. This one, we pushed it so that you could see the difference in the color. This one was at 3, and it was bubbling pretty good. And this is what it looks like when you first pour it in there. It's still really hot in that one. When it does cool off and harden, it will look like this one, the beautiful white. Okay, it's time to make the pie crust. We're going to use an old-fashioned recipe. We need flour, lard, salt, and water. These are the tools we're going to use. Okay, I put half of the flour in, and I put all the salt in. Now it's ready to add the lard. Now we're going to cut in the lard. Okay, we want to get it so it's really fine. Tiny, tiny pieces all blended really well. Put 5 tablespoons in to start with, out of the 6 to 8 we might need. And we're still mixing it up. Add more water as needed until it feels just right. Break it in half because we need a top and a bottom crust. Lightly flour. Don't forget to poke holes in the bottom of your pie crust so it doesn't bubble up. Time to make that pie. Got my apples, my lemon water, my waste bucket, my knife to slice them. Let's get to cutting, peeling, and slicing. Now we're going to drain our apples, and then we'll mix them with some sugar and cinnamon and a little touch of nutmeg. You're going to add a cup of sugar, teaspoon of cinnamon, and a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Stir it up. Make sure you get all the apples separated. You want the cinnamon and the sugar and the nutmeg all mixed into everything. Now that I've got the mixture all stirred up really good, I'm going to add a tablespoon of flour to help thicken it up. I'm going to mix that up. Okay. Now let's pour our yummies into the pie pan. Be sure and pack it in there real tight. When you put the top crust on and bake it, it is going to come down quite a bit. The apples soften up. Don't forget to add your dollops of butter. And we're going to take our pie crust, flip it right over. There we go. Now, I need to trim it. Okay, we're going to trim it. We're going to feel underneath and trim it on the bottom of the pie pan because we still need to crimp it in. So we want to make sure there's plenty there. Don't forget to cut your slats in your pie. It needs air to bubble out. But we'll do that after we crimp it together. Make sure you're grabbing underneath crust also and bring it up. That way, if it does bubble up any, it'll come up. Okay, now I want to trim that edge so it looks nicer. Now it's time to poke our holes or make a design. There we go. Now don't forget to sprinkle some sugar, a little touch of nutmeg for color, and then we'll bake it for an hour at 350. Touch of nutmeg. There we go, that's it. There. All right, the pie is done. Oh, doesn't that look beautiful? There we go. Complete.